Hey everyone, it's Zach Wright, founder of Grapevine Software. Today in this video, I'm going to be talking about how Grapevine actually came to light. And during that explanation, you'll see the importance of Grapevine for internal communicators and operations leaders like myself. Now, this is not going to be a perfect video. I don't have it scripted, but I wanted to tell the true story behind Grapevine and what we're actually trying to solve for in organizations. So let me go ahead and start with a little bit about my background. In the last position that I held, I was strategy staff executive. And what that really meant was I was a part of our organic and inorganic growth approach, or mergers and acquisitions. And then I also was brought in to lead the objectives and key results, or OKR, program for the entire company. So I worked alongside CEOs, CFOs, COOs, and then the remainder of the C-suite as we rolled down those objectives and key results all the way to the individual contributors themselves. Then, due to a leadership shift at the company, my direct manager was asked and tasked of being the SVP of sales, or the chief revenue officer. He brought me along and I became head of sales ops, quickly promoted to director of sales operations, took on the sales engineering side as well, where we managed a few sales engineers. And then as our global enablement, or global sales enablement person, left to go to Google, I inherited that as well. So I wore a lot of hats, but the main thing to really take away from that is my goal was an operations leader. So I had the OKR program. I had to build the strategy, implement the process, and make sure that everybody in the organization understood what they needed to do, when they needed to do it, and how they needed to do it to be accurate and make it effective. And on the other side, with sales operations, we actually brought in this huge consulting firm to implement a world-class enterprise sales solution for the team. After my manager and I talked about it, we realized that that was just too much. And so my goal was to simplify the big thing that we just paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, and make it actually usable and feasible for the sales team that was already there to understand every single thing that they needed to do to be successful as a seller at that company. In addition, we needed to create onboarding approaches, not just the HR version of onboarding, but the specific department onboarding that would get a seller up and running. And we were able to do that with something that I'm going to show you here in a second, to go from 6 months ramp time to 3 months. So that was pretty impressive on its own. We also increased sales by 390%, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about the operations side of things that people don't actually understand unless they're an operator themselves. And so let me go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for sharing this document. Since then, we've been acquired, and I no longer work at that company, and I don't think that they use this anymore. So, but the point in me sharing this RSM guideline to winning is, this is the go-to-market playbook that I created for the sales team to become successful in the last company, enough where we could get acquired by another company. And so as I scroll down this page, right, I don't know if you can see all of this, but actually let me share my screen again. I told you this wasn't going to be perfect. So let me share my entire screen, and I think you should be able to see it. So let's go here, and then I'm going to click over here. And so now you'll see the RSM guideline to winning. And as I scroll down this, what you'll notice is that, one, there's a lot of stuff in here. And so you might be thinking, what was the other consulting firm doing if this is the simplified version? But the other part is that you'll see that I'm linking out to a lot of different tools. So for example, this is a video, so it was probably in our own platform. This is a document, so it was probably Word. This is PowerPoint, so it's probably PowerPoint. And then you can go in here. These are videos as well, so it's another location. These might be in SharePoint. But the point is, and then I think we even have some in Zendesk. The point is that the way that organizations operate today, they have so many tools and so many places that information can live that you have to have somebody like an operator come into the organization and simplify it for your teammates. And that's exactly what I did with our RSM guideline to winning here. Whenever we had new hires come on board, we gave them this in pieces. I broke it down into 4 sections so we could train them in 4 weeks, where we broke down section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and we always had enablement sessions that we recorded and we put those into SharePoint. So that gives somebody else a different place to go to as well. And so let me back up and say this more simply. What I was doing with this document was literally taking the essential information that the salespeople needed to know to make their jobs easier, because they had one place to go to that they knew if they looked at this document and searched through it, they would find it. And now that's where Grapevine comes into the mix, right? But before we go there, let's just call this out. In that document, that's 77 links to different places. And that was only the sales team. Think about that. 77 links to different places in order for them to know what they needed to know. Now multiply that across your entire organization. So what we're really doing at Grapevine is we're simplifying how you organize the information and how you share that where it actually sticks. Because the other part that I didn't mention is whenever I would go and complete something like the RSM guideline to winning, I would then share it in Slack with a message and a video. And then just to make sure that I covered my ground, I would also share it in an email, because some people in the organization didn't use Slack. They only used email, and vice versa. Some didn't use email and some used Slack. Now that could have been on our end. We maybe should have done a little bit better communication policy there. But the point is, now with a tool like Grapevine, you can actually come in here. This is a real thing, so I might be sharing some personal information. So let me just go here. But we have a 90-day customer growth plan. We want to add 10 new paying customers by the end of July 31st, right? And so what I've done is I've created a space. I've created an internal comms and knowledge management playbook, an internal comms and knowledge management demo call playbook, a demo call playbook for operations leaders, so on and so forth. And here's the thing. Now that this is organized, if somebody from the organization needs to understand what we're trying to do, they can come in here and they can either click on the space or they can click directly in to wherever it is that they're trying to go to. Now, if I wanted to share this space, I could easily copy it here and then go to Figgy Chat and share that with Saad. Take a look at this. So that's one way that we could do it. I'm not going to share it because it's late over there in Pakistan. But the other thing is that you can also share directly in the same place that you're communicating to. And the last thing that I want to show you is that because we have an integration with Slack, you can actually see the updates here. For example, new strategy for 2025 is available in Spaces, strategy plan, and then you can click directly in there and it will take you back to Grapevine, right? And so the other thing I should mention is that anything that's shared in Grapevine will also be sent out in an email on your daily summary email. So the real goal here is to give your organization a single place where everything lives, whether it's documents or spaces. Because one of the other things that I didn't show you is if I go here and let's just click in here and go, I can actually bring in documents or spaces to make it easier for them to find it as well. So we're literally taking what we did with the RSM guideline and we're making it super simple and a more powerful but easier to use approach by consolidating all the key information for your organization. Now, you might not think that that is valuable, but if I come over here and scroll down to the bottom, this is the importance of what we're doing. When no one knows where to look, this is what's happening. 2.5 million. So if you're a 1,000-person employee company, you are allowing your employees to waste 2.5 hours per day just searching for that information. Now, for our audience, 100 to 300 to 500 employees, you're looking at anywhere from 250K to 625K. Last time I checked, that's not something that you should just be throwing away. The other part is actually hearing it from the employees themselves. 49% of employees say they duplicate work because they can't find existing information. This is the problem whenever the information is scattered across different applications. Nobody knows what the other person is doing, and so they search for it, but they can't find it. And they might not search every place. And so they end up duplicating that work. So now you're wasting half of your team's time just recreating docs, reports, SOPs. And then the last thing that we should call out here is that tool fragmentation kills momentum, and workers are toggling between apps 1.2K times a day. That's basically wasting up to 4 hours. So if you take 4 hours and then you take the 2.5 hours, that is an insane amount of time being wasted. And it's not going to necessarily be solved by AI. You have to have structure where people know where to go to simplify where they find the information. And that's what we're doing with Grapevine. So I just wanted to hop on here, do a quick video in hopes that it helps clearly identify the value proposition of Grapevine. We're the single source of truth where your information and knowledge lives, and the place that you can share those company-wide updates and announcements and important details where it doesn't get lost as soon as you share it in a Slack channel or thread, right? Grapevine is where you house all of this information so employees can self-serve themselves, work asynchronously, and find what they need when they need it the most without wasting so many hours. So if you saw this and you're interested in learning a little bit more about what we do and see if it's a good fit for your organization, reach out to us with the link in the description. And thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next feature highlight.